It's bigger than biotech.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of It's Bigger Than Biotech, where we go beyond the science to spotlight the people, stories, and the ideas shaping the future of healthcare. Today, we're joined by Mandika Swartz and Keshav Soni, the co founders of Halo Medical Solutions, a health tech startup using ambient AI to tackle one of the biggest pain points in medicine: clinical documentation. But this episode isn't just about the startup, it's about purpose. Mondaka and Keshav share their journey of building Halo, but more importantly, they open up about how they found their why, the driving force behind their work, and how others can do the same. Whether you're a student, founder, professional trying to make sense of what really matters to you, their reflections offer a refreshing and practical take on finding direction in an overwhelming world. If you've ever asked yourself, what am I really here to do? This conversation is for you. Just wanted to start off by asking you guys, what is Halo and how has your journey been building Halo?
Yeah, so Halo is a medical software company. We have currently 4 different products that we sell. How Halo started was actually the beginning of the summer break last year. It was around the May time during final season. And since then, we've been growing, really just been pushing the product. Just to give a little brief on what those products are, is our first product is an AI medical scribe. Our second product is a voice calling agent. It's pretty much giving an AI a phone number and the ability to talk to anyone. And it can handle appointment confirmations, follow-ups, etc. Our third product is it's a browser agent to navigate EMR systems. And our fourth product is to do authorization recommendation for approval and denial, specifically for insurance companies. So that's a little bit of a Halo. Do you want to add?
Yeah, and at first we kind of thought that what we were doing was building a product suite, a suite of different products. But as we've continued building, we've realized we're kind of building this layer, this operating system layer that rests on top of legacy medical record systems. A lot of our distribution goes straight into private practices, which is a dying breed because they're dealing with incredibly high overhead from staffing, from giving up 5 to 15% of their practice's revenue to third-party billing companies. So what we've been seeing for the last decade is private equity is coming in and scooping up these practices with the idea of consolidating resources is going to increase efficiency. Well, that thesis is something that on paper makes sense, but in practice has not been paying off. A third of all practices last year that went bankrupt were private equity owned. So we realized there's still more room for efficiency, and that's really where our tools come in. We're kind of taking the step-by-step to building a medical practice that can be largely operated using AI, but also driven by a doctor. Tools that let doctors become the best type of doctor they can be.
Why did you guys decide to build Halo?
I think we both have different reasons for why we're building Halo. Do you want to go about your reasoning? Because it's actually quite different than mine.
Yeah. So for context, I've worked on a couple projects before Halo, and all of them died, but I learned a lot in the process. My interest with my kind of fascination with the idea of building businesses with my best friends is something that was birthed when I first got to USC. I joined a club. There was somebody in that club that had accomplished, just things that shattered my worldview, like selling a company for like eight figures, right? I didn't think that was possible, and he was somebody that kind of looked just like me, in the sense he was another 20-year-old kid. And so ever since that moment, I realized this was a line of work I really wanted to jump into. And it took a lot of trial and error to actually get something a bit off the ground. And so the birth of Halo came at, like he said, at the end of last school year. And for me, at least, it started at a time when I was at the lowest point of my college life, just because nothing was going my way. Everything was dying. And and it was the first time I didn't want to build a business, but I felt like I needed to. It was my way out of kind of this rabbit hole I had put myself through.
I think for me, where my inspiration for startup came, and which led into the reason why I started Halo, it started off honestly with my dad. So back in India, he started his own software company right out of college, and it was actually very similar to our initiation when we talked to him. He also had a friend who was more of the hardware guy, and they built something together. And growing up, he used to tell me all these cool stories that he did with this friend, his co-founder, and built this company together. But then he said that he had to immigrate to America. Specifically, my parents sacrificed a lot to give us the best education, which in their opinion and my opinion is the American education. So all that sacrifice, I'm super incredibly grateful for that. I don't want to take it for granted. And one way I don't want to take it for granted is actually build startups and live my dad's dream, which he wasn't able to because he immigrated here. So my why for reason for why building a startup is specifically my parents. How they talk about it in the household gets me really excited. And I kind of just want to live and breathe and do that for the rest of my life. And I hope to find a partner that wants it as badly, and I found it.
Definitely. Very, very insightful into both of your whys, very meaningful. One thing I was really curious about is that both of you guys aren't from a particular life science background, but you're building in it. So what got you to build in this field specifically, and why? How is building in this field tied into your North Star?
So for context, I grew up in a healthcare family. Both of my parents are providers. Whenever we had family dinners or social dinners, it was always with other doctors that I would call aunts and uncles. And so naturally, growing up, I thought I was going to be a doctor as well, just another Dr. Swartz. What I realized while watching my parents growing up is they made profound impact on the lives of their patients, one by one. My dad is a bariatric surgeon, so he operates he's kind of dedicated his life to helping people fight obesity through weight loss surgery. My mom is a palliative care physician, so she treats patients at end of life. So I saw them change people's lives every year I was in that house. But I realized the impact they were making, it was an impact at scale. You'll have 24 hours in a day, and you can only see one patient at a time. And as a kid, it took a while to properly realize the impact they were making, because that impact took a lot of sacrifice for the family. My dad was on call pretty much every day, which meant in the middle of the night, he can get called into the hospital. He was at work before I woke up, and he got back sometimes after I went to sleep. So I think I realized eventually that I'm fascinated by the world of healthcare, but I want to do work that has scale, where I can touch hundreds of thousands of people in a faster window of time. Now, why are we building in healthcare? It's because I spent a lot of time working in industries I didn't belong in. I was doing AI in architecture, and it's like, in retrospect, why am I doing that? Why am I building consumer apps? We had conversations, and we eventually realized we should be building in a space where we have the easiest chance of succeeding. And that distills to, where do I have access to knowledge, and where do I have access to distribution? Build there. Building a company is, obviously, it's very difficult. So play the best cards you've been dealt. And that ended up being in healthcare. And at least for me, I really enjoy working in this space. Of course, that stems from some biases deep down.
Yeah. I think for me, it's quite different. I'm not in love with healthcare. There was this, Josh Miller from DIA, who came yesterday, and he was like, he doesn't want to build browsers for the rest of his life. And I think I'm kind of in the similar space where I don't want to build in healthcare for the rest of my life. I just want to be the greatest businessman that I can be. And I think my journey starts from healthcare. Reason is for the last 2 years, I've been working at a healthcare company. And I found this guy who had a lot of insight into healthcare. I figured our skills were complementary. So the best way to go about to become the best businessman is to choose the route of healthcare. And what I hope to do one day is we create a successful business in healthcare, whether it's exit or it's just a cash cow. Afterwards, I kind of want to dive into another business in a different industry and get our feet wet there and learn about it. With Mandika again. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing that I see you guys having is passion when it comes to building. I've been a part of the same clubs that you guys have been at USC, and I've seen lots of builders, but I think the level of passion and commitment that people have towards startups is different, right? Lots of other people put grades and other things above building a startup. You guys sacrifice grades, school, everything to put Halo on top. Why do you think you do that, which is not the norm at USC or even these entrepreneurship clubs? And I think where is that drive coming from?
I think we want what we're doing to be real and as real as possible. And we realized over time that there are a lot of people that want to do things but don't feel like they need to. And when you're living in the world of I just want, it's probably not enough motivation to prioritize what you need to prioritize as the number one thing in life.
I'm gonna zoom out a little, and I think the reason is I watch a lot of podcasts. One podcast I watched was PBD, Patrick Bet David, and pretty much from watching that one specific podcast, he was talking about ambition. What I realize is you should be real with where you are, but be delusional about where you want to get to. Right. And what we realized when we started off is our goal is to become startup founders, to become the greatest businessman that ever existed, whatever you want to say. That's a delusional goal. If we were to be real with where we are, how much time are we actually actively spending on startups? Minimal. It's 2-3 hours a week. Why are we not spending more time? Well, we got school. We got other priorities. We got relationships. Okay, well, you can't have it all. You have to lead a unbalanced life, unfortunately. And we were willing to sacrifice that to achieve our delusional goal, which we still haven't achieved. And that's why we sacrificed school. And unfortunately, we've also sacrificed relationships. Like, one thing is I haven't been able to hang out with you guys as often as, let's say, like last year, right? Like, we used to go to the gym every single day last year. That's not happening anymore, right? And it really sucks, and I apologize, but I think in the back of my head, it's like, this is what I really want. And it fulfills me. Not necessarily makes me happy, but it fulfills me. And I'm willing to sacrifice everything for it.
I think this brings me back to kind of a realization that I've had about this semester. I know Hriday talked about this last week with me, and I talked about this to Mandika too. If you spread yourself too thin with lots of different things, you will not succeed at any of them as much as you want to, right? You need to figure out what is your priority, right? Put them on your priority list. Put the number one as just like how many hours you can put into it, right? Sacrifice other things. I think that's the biggest thing. And to sacrifice those other things, you need to have passion to do that number one priority.
And I think all it takes, in my opinion, is 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's not like you're committing the next 6 months to doing a startup or doing whatever it is you're super passionate about. Just give yourselves 2 weeks to try and go all in and see what happens. I think we surprise ourselves sometimes by how much we can get done in a very little amount of time when we focus. The problem is we don't focus as intensely as we should.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing with that also is that I don't know what the law is exactly, what it's called, but there is a law where if you're given a due date, you will always take until that due date to finish your work. So in your
Mm.
head, if you set that at a much earlier level, you will finish it earlier. And I feel like we live in a illusion where you're always thinking that you have a lot of time for something because you have the rest of your life, and the due date you're setting for yourself is maybe at the end of your life where you might value things a bit more. So why not set it much earlier and uh, give yourself less time to accomplish much more, which is something you guys did with your 2 week sprint, right? So what were I know you guys are very committed to what you want to do, but it takes a lot of mental strength to commit to something at this age. So how did you guys figure out what your why was? And like, could you walk us through that?
It's funny because we had that conversation during our first 2 week sprint. A lot of my why stems from my family. They're everything for me, and it took me a lot longer than I wish to have realized that. But I think that was part of the journey. That's the reason I work so hard. Context: in high school, I was just kind of lost. I was surrounded by a lot of noise, prioritizing things that didn't matter. My relationship with my mom was a bit strained because it felt like the love she had for me was at times kind of correlated to my academic performance, and she was the person that always pushed me to become the best version of myself possible. And yeah, I unfortunately just didn't see the big canvas back then. Then I was applying to colleges, and I got into none of the ones I wanted to go to. So I ended up doing community college my first year, and this was after living pretty much 18 years of life, where I was kind of in this echo chamber. Everybody thought I was going to be something somewhat significant. And then life slapped me across the face, and I'm on the ground. I felt like people were laughing behind my back and writing me off, and I hated that feeling. When it felt like, everything I thought mattered just instantly vanished. I realized that all that's really there for us is family, and I do acknowledge not everybody has family as kind of the family is not necessarily the giant whose shoulders they get to stand on, but I think everybody has some sort of giant. And I think when I realized that family is my giant, it filled me up with so much purpose.
I think for me, it's also family, but I'll add on to it by saying a large part of it is also my faith. I believe in a God, universe, whatever you want to call it. And it simply comes down to, if I was a parent or if I was your friend and I gave you a car, and after 1 year, I saw that car was just broken down into pieces, I'd be like, what's the point of me giving you another car? Right? But after a year, you did some modifications on that car. You made it the best car possible. I'd be like, I'm proud that I gave Hriday or Vishnu this car. And it kind of similarly comes down to human is, I think God gave us a life, and I think we have to make the best use of it. In my personal opinion, I think the reason why God put me here is to become a good businessman and hopefully serve those who I love through that. And the way to do that is to try my absolute best in achieving this goal.
Just going into more detail though, for our listeners who may be trying to find their why, what would you recommend they do in the first place that helped you out a lot specifically in finding your purpose? I mean, I know you might be too early to even find your ultimate goal yet, but you do have a pretty good idea as to what you want to do so that you can prioritize things at this point in life, right? So how did you guys figure out, and what helped you guys find your why? Because I know most students at this stage don't think about it as seriously.
Well, I think part of it is we were raised in a very well family, both of us. So our why kind of stemmed from there. Our parents talked about how their inspiration was their parents. I grew up in a religious household, so my why stemmed from there. But I understand that's not the case for everyone. And I think it just comes down to your why has to be yourself. You got to love yourself so much that you want to prove something to yourself. One thing I like to say is what I want is what I say, and what I say is what I do. And if you can't hold your word to yourself, then who are you gonna love? So it just comes down to self-love. Do it for yourself if you can't do it for anyone else.
Yeah, very well said. Anything for that helped you, Mandika?
I echo the idea of I echo what Keshav said. Now in action, if you're looking for some work or some passion that can fill you up, I recommend everybody just try things. Just try. Everybody has. I think if you were to think about if time wasn't scarce and I could be doing anything with my life, what would I be doing? And like going back to the 2-week sprint, spend 2 weeks just doing that and seeing what happens. I've seen this a lot, and I've been a victim of this for much of my life. It's the idea of saying I am going to do something, starting to do that thing, and then that thing dying because you check out, right?
I'm actually curious, is because I think we had this conversation, and it'd be an interesting topic to dive into. Is I think the reason why so many young people nowadays fail in building something is because they associate their level of interest in that thing based on their happiness. So I'd actually like to go back to the question of why. I think if I could elaborate on my answer before, it's responsibility. I think you should fulfill responsibility, and fulfilling responsibility gives you happiness, and I don't think you should chase happiness. So for Halo, I don't wake up every single day. Like today, I don't wake up and I'd be like, I'm really excited to work on Halo, guys. I'm really excited to figure this bug out. No, it's simply, I have to do this because I have this guy who's waiting for me to complete my work. I have my customers waiting for me to fix these bugs, and it's my responsibility to do it. It doesn't matter whether I'm happy, sad, mad, I'm still going to have to do it. And I think that's the attitude you should adopt in your early 20s or probably for the rest of your life.
I know at this age, even if you take a risk right now, it's not going to impact you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
But another very important thing is the people you surround yourself with or the environment you're in, because it really shapes you quite a lot. So what would you guys recommend people do to kind of get into an environment that really pushes them?
You create the environment that you want to belong to by becoming the person that would belong to that environment. If you don't have an environment of people that are startup founders, become a startup founder yourself, and the environment will come to you. I don't think you should be chasing, like, if you, for instance, let's say like a person, XYZ, wants to be part of this athletic group. You're not just going to be able to join that athletic group. You're going to have to work on yourself and become athletic, and then you're going to be able to join it. So don't chase the environment. Make yourself good enough to fit into that environment, and the environment will come to you. And what you'll probably realize is you actually didn't want that environment that badly either way. You just wanted to build yourself.
I'm actually curious. Mandika, you mentioned that you found purpose when life slapped you across the face, not only when it comes to finding your why in family, but also in terms of building Halo. Right? You said you were at your lowest point in college. Do you guys think that those lowest points or lower points are necessary for substantial growth in a human being?
100%. I think the biggest growth spurts happen when you fail. And I look back at the fails I was going through before, and I wouldn't change anything. Because the one thing I'm proud of in all of college was I never stopped trying, I'd say. I was always trying to do stuff and trying to be better, just trying to figure it out. And it took all of those trials to fail to eventually try in a way that worked. And I think it's fool's gold to think you're going to get it on the first go. Halo, I'm delusional, but there's a chance Halo doesn't succeed on this go. But it's been the best start to a business we've experienced to date. And if it fails, back to the whiteboard and here we go again.
Halo's failed actually multiple times already. A lot of people think starting a new startup is when you fail, but I disagree. I think we've been failing since day one because our first version didn't get us a paying customer. Our second version didn't get us a paying customer. Those are both fails. The product significantly changed between those versions, but the third version made our first money. And it just goes to show you failing isn't necessarily you're switching an industry entirely during startup. It might just be pivoting from your idea, and you just gotta have that tenacity of I'm gonna figure it out, regardless of how many times I have to go through it.
I see. And talking of pivoting, even in life in general, I feel like everyone should be open to pivoting quite a lot more than they are, right? In terms of careers, like I feel like society puts you in a box where like, oh, like the moment you get into finance, from the start you're bound to go to BlackRock, let's say. That's where people want to go. It's almost like a straight path that society expects you to go. So what are your thoughts on like pivoting in life and being open to pivots? And why do you think it may be beneficial and not beneficial at the same time?
I think if you understand that life never goes according to plan, then you should have the humility to stay open-minded to anything, because you never know what some inflection in your life could lead to.
Don't lie to yourself. A lot of people say they want to be startup founders. Do you genuinely want to be a startup founder? One of our closest friends, he is an SEP, which is a startup organization, but he's very well made his mind that he does not want to go the startup route. He's okay with, he wants to focus on relationships. That's totally okay. And in both cases, you're going to sacrifice something. He's sacrificing perhaps ambition for relationships, which is great. I'm totally on board with that. We're sacrificing relationships for ambition, which is also fine. It just choose your sacrifice, choose your regret.
And is there any path where you don't have to sacrifice anything?
A balanced life is an unbalanced life. As in, it's you can't be a master of all.
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely tough to balance, and Vishnu, you can chime in as well, because I know you're down the path. And but the thing is, like, I personally feel that it is possible to balance things out and be successful at the same time, but it's all about patience. You know, you can't expect everything to come in at once. People have different parts of the journey. Maybe they focus on relationship first, ambition next, or you may focus on ambition first, relationship next, right? But at the end, I feel like it is still possible. It'll just take more time. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
I think personally for me, I subscribe to the fact or the saying that grass is greener always, in the sense that even when I grow older and comparative to now, I will have a more balanced life, let's say. I think I will still think in my mind that I have an unbalanced life. So I don't think personal balance is completely achievable, or I haven't seen it at least. But I think that's what keeps me on my toes. It's the healthy unbalance that's what I'm trying to go for. It's not the unbalance right now where it's like do everything constantly, be in your fight or flight mode. No, it's the healthy unbalance. I think that's what you mean by that balance, because balance, in my opinion, does not exist.
Do you think you can be a successful businessman with a healthy unbalance?
I think so. And I want to be that. If it hasn't been done before, I want to be the first person to do that.
Gotcha. Yeah. Playing devil's advocate is, let's say there's two people.
Yeah.
One person wants that healthy unbalance, and the other person is fine with an unhealthy unbalance. In my personal opinion, I'm putting all my chips on the second person.
Yeah.
Because business is competitive by inheritance. So,
yes.
Would you say that, like, how do you think that utopia would look like? Because to me, it's a utopia.
I think in terms of it, that depends on stages of growth of a business. I think when you start a business, there's no way in hell it's going to be healthy.
Sure.
Right? You need to put all your chips, as you say, on that table. You need to go all in on this business, sacrifice sometimes your health, sometimes your relationships, your grades, everything. When you start a business, you're trying to like build an airplane from scraps, right?
Yeah.
But when you have that business going, it's still like you have to work really, really hard. But you can develop that healthy unbalance in that way. You can't be comfortable, right? You can't have an empire or have a growing empire, but still, just be chilling on the side. It's gonna fail, right? So I think it depends on the stage of growth. When you start off, yeah, I support the unhealthy imbalance.
I think in action, this all comes down to, if you really want it, your job, it's not to be an engineer or to do sales. You're here to do whatever it takes to make what you're working on succeed. And I think,
Can that be healthy though? That's the question.
I don't think so.
no, I think it's an obsession. It's an obsession that, I think it fills me up with purpose, the obsession. It's that obsession, that passion, it's a layer on top of the family, but I don't think it makes us happy. I think the happiness is what we get from you guys, the friend group, it's being with family. We get happiness there, but doing whatever it takes to make Halo succeed, that takes obsession.
I see.
But I feel like that answer is very biased because success to someone else might be something completely different. Not everyone, like all of us here, might want to go down the entrepreneurship route, but maybe someone like Monica, your parents, they went down a very traditional path of becoming surgeons and providers, right? I guess in that sense, I mean, I feel like it is very possible to do that because the thing is, like, yes, entrepreneurship takes a lot of effort, but there is a more stable route to get to a lot of money, like investment banking and so many other lucrative jobs out there. And I feel like sometimes they may not provide the stability you want, but later in life, I guess you get there.
I think even in those, in any profession, right? If your North Star is, I want to be great at this thing, we want to be great at business. We're not great yet, but we want to be great. Or I want to be a great lawyer, a great doctor. I do think it takes an element of obsession. Obsession that comes with sacrifice. My dad, for instance, yeah, you've worked a lot when I was growing up. Your dad's in business. Tell me about that. Like, there has to be some aspect of obsession in the people you look up to.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the thing is, like, my dad is so obsessed with work that I guess, like, most of my vacations are just me, my sister, and my mom, and my dad's just home working, you know? So, yeah, I do see your point. But again, like, I mean, it does come down to what your personal goals are. There, like Vishnu said, I guess there could be a way to do it. It's like if it's not your goal and if it's just your mindset that you know it's going to be toxic getting up to success, maybe you might not pursue a balanced success path. But like if you're going in with the intention of getting balance and success, maybe you might find something different.
I think you're just going to find average, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, that could be very possible. But I guess like one thing that we do see here is people in different parts of their life shift identity very often,
I agree.
right? So how did you guys, I knew both of you since my freshman year, and I knew both of you were not the same people you are today. I mean, there are parts of you that are the same, but there's a lot of difference and growth. So how did you guys deal with your shifting why with that identity in that sense?
I don't think my why shifted. I don't. Maybe my identity was like put down, but I think the reason why I am the person I am today is because I found someone who shares the love to grow a business as much as me, which I hadn't found in my earlier years. I'm my authentic self at this moment, which I may not have been in the past few years because of this guy.
Yeah, I echo that. I'd say my why crystallized to myself. In college was when I really started having these why conversations with friends, and we do it over pool tables and dinners. And now building, I think the why is crystallized. The why's always been there, but now I'm starting to understand it more and more. But then also to his point about finding the right person you want to work with. Like, I feel so blessed to have found that. I think part of the root problem in all of the businesses I tried to build before was I just wasn't with the right guy. And I don't think I was the right person yet to work with the right guy. Because I think if I worked with Keshav our first semester at USC, I don't think we would have appreciated each other enough.
Yeah,
Right?
I agree.
We've experienced what it's like to work with people that don't want it as much as you do, that don't push you to be better. Right? But also still have the same moral framework to life, the same value system. I feel incredibly lucky to be in a room with him.
Oh, get a room, guys. I think let's move more towards it's bigger than biotech. You guys have talked to lots of doctors, lots of practices. You've been shut down by some. You've been accepted by some. What do you think is the hardest part in building in biotechnology or medical solutions?
I think it's getting access to the market. Thankfully, because my family's in healthcare, we had some ins right around when we were getting started. So we had doors that could open for us, but we had to step through there and make deals happen. And now we're at a place where, like, the word of mouth marketing is happening on our behalf. But we talked about this yesterday. I remember there was a time right around 9 months ago. We had a product, but it was so hard to find people to test it, to use it, to pay for it. So it's been a roller coaster. But getting access to the market, that's tough, and it takes time and consistency.
I think to be even more specific, I think it's building relationships with your customers, and it takes a very good amount of time. That's why I'm super glad I'm with this guy. Painting like a specific scenario is like we're sometimes in these meetings, and these meetings go for hours, and you have to make sure you're talking to these doctors in the right way, which this guy does a great job of. I don't have that much patience. Sometimes I'm like, doctor, it's like great you're asking these questions, like, but can't you just figure it out by yourself? But he's always there, making sure that the customers are feeling like they're like the celebrities. So I think it comes down to treating your customers right. We treat all of our customers as celebrities, and they're the most important person.
Definitely. I'm sorry, I hate to be jumping around here, but I just had a really good thought on our conversation about finding a healthy balance to success. One thing I feel most people don't appreciate in life is gratitude about the things you have when you're growing up. The thing is, when I also notice a lot of the successes I've had, I don't tend to celebrate them, and it's almost like a toxic process where, like, whenever I achieve something, I'm like, what's next? What do I go to? But I never stay there, wait a moment, and just congratulate myself, or I'm never grateful that I achieved something. I just move on, and I feel like not having that feedback loop is something that gets toxic. And gratitude does not come at the expense of ambition. It actually increases your ambition because you're grateful for the things you have. So I guess, like, with that sort of point, what are your thoughts on gratitude then?
I think I completely agree with that. I think gratitude gives me happiness. It's like actual true happiness. It's not the cheap dopamine hits like watching a film or a TV.
Right. I know actually, Mandika told me about this gratitude diary from one of his classes he was taking. And yeah, like, I mean, I've been doing it and it's been absolutely great.
Awesome.
I see Keshav has a big smile there. Any funny story behind that?
No. It was so great. This guy has actually been, he should be a salesman for that because he's been telling other people to try it out as well.
Right.
It's awesome.
And I guess like for students that are listening to this, they are mostly in the life sciences. Like I know it's a very tough process to get. I mean, I guess like your parents would be more relevant people to ask, but like again, it's a tough process to go into med school and like serve like 8 years there and then become a doctor. I guess like what are your thoughts on the toughness and the gratitude in the process it would take for someone to be mentally fine through all that?
If your why is bigger than the hurdle that you're going to overcome, you're going to overcome it. For me, it's my parents are bigger than any sort of setback that can come. So it just comes down to like, I'm going to do it. I think it goes down to a lot of people want to do med school for the money. If you find another opportunity to make money, you're not going to do med school. But if you want to do med school to serve other people, specifically like health-wise, you're not going to find that in any other industry. So it doesn't matter whether you fail your first MCAT, second MCAT. You're going to be like, I still got to do this because my why is to serve other people's health.
I think that's a great why. But in practice, what we've seen is I genuinely think people want to go into medicine because they want to dedicate their life to helping others. But once they're in the industry, they realize it's not as glamorous as they expected. A day in the life of a physician is not roses and dandelions. You're not just talking to the patient. In fact, when you're talking to the patient, you're thinking about a lot of things, not directly related to the patient. You're thinking about, man, I have to take care of this patient, and then I need to do a 30-minute write-up just summarizing what's going on with this patient. I need to call the patient's pharmacy to get their medications prescribed. On top of that, I need to see 35 patients a day today in order to be able to take any money back home. That by the time I get home, it's 7 to 8 p.m. and my kids are already getting ready for bed, and I'm exhausted. And I need to wake up the day after at 6:30 in the morning to start to just take back to it. It's kind of like a rat race, and we're really lucky to have that insight by developing the relationships we have with our customers. That's why I think the products we're building, I really think are life-changing, especially our first one, like an AI scribe it really makes doctors' lives easier, and we just want to make sure every product we're building is a tool that helps doctors kind of rediscover the reason why they went into medicine in the first place, which is to spend time with the patient. A lot of that has been stripped from them over the last decade.
I mean, you give a really good insight into what someone's life might look like 10 years down the line. And I feel like it's a very popular question a lot of employers ask as well during the interviews. Where do you see yourself in the next 10 years? And I feel like it's a question we've also discussed as a friend group. For someone who hasn't thought about where they see themselves in 10 years, like, why do you think it's beneficial for them to do so first? And how should they approach this process and start it?
I think you should challenge yourself to think, like, what does the best version of myself in the multiverse of me's look like? Because why can't that universe be the one you're living in now, and let that be your North Star? Once you have I wouldn't even say tenure. It's just more like a lifelong North Star, right? What's that snapshot vision that makes you really happy whenever you think about it? Chase that. Now let's crystallize it into something actionable. Like, based on where I'm at now, where can I possibly be in 2 months from now? If I gave myself 2 months to try and chase that best version of myself. And just take it one step at a time, but hold yourself accountable. Honestly, I don't have it all together. There's a funny reel from Brad Pitt. He said, people often ask me, is it about the journey or the destination? I say neither. It's the people. I genuinely think I can't get to my North Star without the people around me, without my family. I definitely can't build this business without this guy. I don't know if I have enough intrinsic motivation to go 0 to 1. But if you're on the quest to be that best version of yourself, I think you'll attract people that share a similar mindset. And that becomes the people you live with.
I think what you say about thinking about what the best version of yourself would do matters a lot. I would say this in terms of whenever you're at a crossroads, whenever you're trying to figure out, okay, I have 2 potential solutions to my problems. One might be easy, one might be hard. The one thing that you need to do is figure out what would the best version of myself do, right? And do that. Blindly follow that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I feel like you don't have to have your life figured out at this point. It's a step-by-step process. Like, you need to break your life down into phases and do what's best for today that will set you up for a better tomorrow, and just go day by day. And I guess, like, if you improve 1% every day, compounded, like, in a year, you'd be like very different. So yeah, I completely subscribe to that thought as well.
What's your North Star?
That's a good question.
That's snapshot vision.
Yeah, I've also thought about it a lot. And I feel like something that really excites me when I wake up every morning and motivates me every morning is to make an impact in the pharmaceutical industry of India itself, pharma and biotech industry of AI. I mean, of India, sorry. The thing is, like, one thing I learned in class is that, like, a lot of countries are so superior to India in terms of pharmaceuticals, biotech, that India is seen as a very small player for innovation. But I want to change that. And India is already doing that, but I want to be a big part of that process and maybe like etch my name down in history somehow. And yeah, I feel like that's my North Star. Or at least that's where I want to be by the time I die.
Love it.
Vishnu?
I think my North Star is kind of similar to you guys. It is definitely family, right? I want to make my mother proud. Of course, want to help out my father too, help out people like my father. I think with every step I take, every career decision, every hopefully relationship decision from now too, I want to see that in terms of my North Star. Does this help me? Will this help me in terms of me getting to that point of helping my family or helping people like my family? So, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time, guys. That's a wrap for this episode. And if there's one thing I want to say for all our listeners to take away from this episode is the urge to start thinking about where you want to be in the next 10 years and what your why is. If this episode helped you reflect on your own journey, consider sharing it with a friend or mentor. And don't forget to follow It's Bigger Than Biotech on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Until next time, stay curious, stay driven, and remember, it's always bigger than biotech.